a lot of engagement and focus.
Lots of engagement and focus.
I know it.
Lines down.
I know it.
Yep, lines down,
Right.
I think that was in the directions, right? Don't look outside.
Right.
But just to give you an idea of the magnitude of this work, just trying to meet every teacher where they're at is something that we strive to do, and sometimes we're better at it, but we continue to listen to and learn from feedback from teachers. But just want to read a couple of the comments. So the elementary is involved in the sciences, including materials, manual English, 3D, read-writing. We're going to be reviewing the building blocks of the Mtss systems at the secondary level. We have presenters coming in on Gale, Savas, Big Ideas, Grow Main Street. We're even going to be troubleshooting some Canvas issues in our tech department with some of our teams. So there's a lot of learning that's out there for the system. As I look at it, we've got 9 pages, and these are just the administrative directions that Kim and the team have organized just to put people in different locations. I think it would be fair to say every one of our facilities is being used to pull this off.
Almost. I think some of the elementaries maybe. Right. That's what they'll be combined.
So, the days of here's one topic sitting together are kind of over, and so really trying to accommodate and plan for teachers and their needs. And then once this is done, we'll collect feedback to see how was the professional learning for you and what adjustments needs to be made. So,
Did they get to pick where they go?
this is by grade level and department.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is something generally teachers would look forward to this because it's more collaboration time.
Mhm.
So not all grades will what you spoke about.
They're not going to.
It's
depending
I
where
was-
they are. What
I
they're
would, it's a
doing.
lot.
Yeah.
I would, it's a lot for
If that
X
was the
amount of
whole
hours.
list
Yeah.
for everybody, yeah.
I was gonna ask, do we
No.
too much? No, I was gonna ask. What do they
feedback,
think?
we did that for everybody.
Yeah, I was a little worried. I was
I can tell you what the feedback would say.
Yeah, I could too. I just want to make sure. Okay, good.
You're
Thank
making
you.
me nervous.
Thank you. That's great.
With that, I do want to move into, Gabby's going to be coming up and talking about our gifted and accelerated. She has a guest, and I'll ask Gabby, I'll turn it over to Gabby. This is a very exciting time.
Yeah, hi, I'm Gabby Kokonakis. I am our gifted coordinator in the district. Super excited to be here with you today, especially it is sunny. It's starting to get that warm weather. We're really excited about it. We have 2 amazing teachers that I just absolutely adore working with here today. They are gifted cluster teachers at our elementary, so I'll let them just very, very quickly introduce themselves, their name, and then also their building as well.
Hi, I'm Aldina Sales. I teach 3rd grade in Meadowbrook Elementary.
Kristen Green, and I teach 3rd grade at Collins Elementary.
Thank you for being here. So our gifted model really is in grades 1st through 6th grade. And then we will go into a little bit of our middle school options as well. I'm not going to be able to use your clicker correctly. So something that we talk a lot about as gifted cluster teachers and as our team, we talk a lot about how gifted isn't better, but it's just different. And that all of our learners have different needs, and that is absolutely true with our gifted learners. So here's just an overview of our model. At the K-6, you'll see it really is 1st through 6th grade where our model lives, but in kindergarten, we do test kindergartners, so we do sometimes loop in kindergarten as well. So we use a school-wide gifted cluster model, and that is a research-based model that's used across the country in a variety of districts. And then we also have, in the middle, you'll see subject area acceleration. That is something that we have for a smaller percentage of our gifted learners. So to give a little context, we have about 170 gifted learners within our 1st through 6th grades in all of our elementary schools. That's across the district. And then from there, we have about 20 of those learners in a subject area acceleration. So you might be familiar with a whole grade level acceleration. That's something that we actually don't have any students currently doing any whole grade level acceleration. If they're in 3rd grade, they would go all the way up to 4th and just move on all the way through high school. We have 20 students who subject area accelerate, and usually it's in math. And so if they're a 3rd grader, they might go up to a 4th grade classroom for math specifically, and then go back with their 3rd grade peers in their 3rd grade classroom for every other subject and specials and everything like that. And so we'll get a little bit into that. This is just an overview. I'll go into more detail. And then our middle school option, we have Math 7-8. That is our accelerated math class at the middle schools. All 3 middle schools offer that class. It is the standards of Math 7, the standards of Math 8 combined into one class. And we have students are placed in that class, and we'll go into that process a little bit as well. But they are placed in that class at the 90th percentile or above on NWEA and their MAP scores, their math map, and then also we look at M-Step too. So those are our offerings for our gifted model in Forest Hills. And this just goes in a little bit more detail of what our cluster model entails. So every single school in our district has one gifted cluster teacher, like these 2 lovely ladies here. They are one gifted cluster teacher in their grade level. So if there's 4 third grade teachers at one of our schools, one of them is the designated gifted cluster teacher, and all of the gifted learners who are identified are within that classroom. Typically the group is anywhere from 2 to 6 students, and so they are grouped in that classroom with that teacher, and the teacher has professional learning throughout the year, and many of them have been gifted cluster teachers for quite some time. And so they've received a lot of training and professional learning opportunities over the years, specifically for our needs of our gifted learners. Our testing process, we are in the middle of that right now. We test in all of our elementary schools every spring, and that is really unique. There are not a lot of districts that test for giftedness in the state of Michigan anymore because it is no longer funded by the state, and that was many, many, many years ago. So I feel incredibly lucky to be in a district where we do provide that testing and to be able to collect that data, to be able to identify students so we can get them exactly what they need. We use the NNAT3, the NNAT3 is an ability assessment that is nonverbal. That was chosen by the district because it is accessible to all students. It is nonverbal, meaning there are no words, there's no math. Every time I tell the kids that, they cheer. Like yesterday I was at Nat Forest, they were cheering because they said there's no reading, there's no writing, there's no math. It's just puzzles, it's just pictures. And so even last year at Meadowbrook, I had tested a newcomer, and so they did not speak English quite yet, and they were still able to access the test. And so it's really an amazing assessment that we give our learners. We also use the COGAT and the TOMAGs. Those are 2 different ability assessments that we use in different cases. And we also accept outside testing too. We have a lot of families who come from outside the district that are interested in our model, and they have testing from maybe an outside facility or even maybe their district that they were in previously. Our eligibility, 96th percentile is our eligibility for students to be within our gifted cluster model. And then at the middle school and high school, I spoke a little bit about the Math 7-8 class. Then our high school, there is no longer the model in the middle in the high schools and secondary, just because students have so many different classes and so many different teachers that we're not able to group kids into one group. But they do have other opportunities, such as that accelerated math class, and then high school, the honors, and the AP classes as well. We talk a lot about, we talk a lot about our MTSS, our multi-tiered system of supports, and how sometimes we might think that gifted learners don't fit in with that, but they do, because it is our framework for all students. And so when we think about our tier 3, those students really do also need intensive support. It just might look different than maybe what we're used to seeing, because we know that all kids have very unique needs. So when we think about our MTSS, how it supports our students, we really have a lot of guidance from the state that supports that acceleration really truly is what's best for gifted learners. And that can mean a couple different things. It could be the subject area acceleration, where a 3rd grade student is maybe going up to 4th grade for math, but it also could be acceleration within the classroom as well. And that's how our teachers differentiate. They're always pulling different resources and using different strategies to accelerate the learning of our gifted learners. Again, more guidance from the state that subject area acceleration really truly can be what's best for our learners. Not all of our gifted learners at 170 down to 20, it really only is a small percentage, but we have really found really great success with that, and our learners that have been participating and going up a year, even 2 and even 3 years sometimes too. So it kind of just depends. Every kid is so incredibly different. And you both have had accelerated kids too. So we're going to hear just a minute from Aldina and then Kristen as well, just how they differentiate, how they kind of tackle that model and work with our gifted learners.
Okay, so she said a minute, but I don't know, I'm gonna try to keep it under a minute. So some of the things, so these are all pictures from my students and the work that they've done. So one of the things that I wanted to share with you is, I often tend to ask the students, what would you like to learn more about? And that's kind of where I often start with them. I listen to them and I provide different opportunities and resources to help them achieve their goals and satisfy their own learning hungers. I wanted to share a quick story. I had a student several years ago. I moved into third grade, and the student was perceived always as a student that had some behavior problems throughout from kindergarten to third grade. And so he was in my room. He was tested, was gifted, and he said to me, Mrs. Sales, I would like to learn about calculus. And I heard you say the word calculus, and of course, because I want to satisfy his interests, I went and bought a bunch of books on calculus, and I gave it to him, and we set up different interviews, and he said to me, I saw him a couple weeks ago, and he said to me, Mrs. Sales, you are actually the first person that asked me what would I like to learn about. Is instead of here's all this work, and just go continue to fill out the papers and do what teachers want to do, not what I want to do. So that kind of stuck with me. After that, I kind of continued to do the same thing. I also like to invite all my students to participate in the learning opportunities. I don't often, I kind of have a hard time just saying, you guys come and let's work on this, and then leave the kids wondering, okay, what is that group working on that I'm not exposed to? So as you kind of see in that in the picture there, my whole class is invited into that learning opportunity, and the kids tend to kind of find their own challenges once you offer them all these different learning invitations. And then I wanted to also say that the student that you see in the corner working on his picture, so that was I like to connect the students to the outside world, the world outside of our classroom walls. So the student there was invited to go with his camera, find places where he saw math, and then he came back and organized his pictures into different categories and just kind of went from there. And then the last part that I want to share is I love having students be each other's mentors. So I often invite my previous students to come back into our classroom, and they kind of take leadership roles, and students in my class see hey, Mrs. Sales is not the only teacher. And they love learning from each other. They play games, and they do different activities together.
Aldina, thank you so much. And that really is the beauty of our gifted cluster model, that it is not a pull-out program where students are not pulled, and that had been a model previously, and you'll see that sometimes across the state or across the country, but we have it, the whole gifted model is all day long, and it's in that classroom, and our teachers provide those opportunities, not just for the identified gifted learners, but all of them, not only just in their class, like Aldina mentioned, but then through our win time as well, our tier 2 interventions, students are grouped based on need or interest, and so students are able to access those opportunities too that way. Kristen?
Okay. I kind of wanted to touch base a little bit about the optional learning, professional learning that we get offered to. I try and attend as many as I can. Might be a little over the top, but I love it. And one of my goals is always to take something from that day that I can apply the next day. So a couple weeks ago, we attended the National Association of Gifted Children Teacher Summit, and there's a couple pictures here. We explored Wonderopolis. That was something that was presented. I'm like, oh, that's something I can try to do with my kids. Well, I pulled, this is during win time, and I love, just like what she was saying, I love for my students to teach each other. So I'm like, okay, I want to learn how to do this, and I want to learn how to do it well. So I took a small group of students, and out in the hallway so we could kind of spread out and talk. and I've never seen them so excited for wind time. And they got to pick, and they all agreed to what is a multiple. That's what we wanted to, I learned a lot. Mr. B happened to learn a lot this morning when he was given a test that one of my students created, and he would like to now patent and asked me if we could research how to patent his test brand. So that might be next. But these were just two of the grab and goes that we have explored, and I love the choice. I love offering choice, and this was just something the two students on the left are creating a game board, so they're coming up with questions based on what they researched. And then I have another student that's creating a children's book that he is going to read to his first grade buddy. So it kind of goes across grade levels, and I too have students from last year come down and they'll run small groups. But now these kids, now that they're wrapping up their final projects, they're asking if now, my hope is that everybody in my class, because they are curious about it too, they're going to teach small groups of interest too. And if you have not checked out Wonderopolis, it is amazing. I never knew about it, so I was super excited that it was something I could go do the next day. Another thing that was just purchased for us was the Mindset Mathematics book. And this is just something I can do as a quick warm up with my whole class. And I have been offering two different options, so I'll typically put them in sleeves. And then one side is a little bit, has a little bit more rigor than the other side. So everybody can do it, and then we talk about it, and it's just fun to hear their conversations and hear their learning in a not so, concrete way, and they get that abstract thinking. But the students love it, they're excited, and I'm excited. Gabby puts on amazing PDs, so yeah, thanks for letting me share how we use it in our classrooms.
Both Kristen and Aldina, they attend all of our sessions, and every single time, the next morning, they're already using the resources and the strategies that we've shared. Both times I've walked into their classrooms, the next day I get emails from them, and they're ready and off and running. It really is, it's quite amazing. So we have some things to celebrate, some things about subject area acceleration. So as I mentioned, that's when a student would go from one grade to another in math or in another subject. And this process really is either teacher-driven, they reach out to me, we go through that process to collect data, it's a data-driven process. And then also families can also recommend or reach out to me as well. And so we use a variety of data to be able to support that decision. And it's not a quick process. It's definitely a lengthy process. We really try to be intentional about that because it not only impacts them when they're in third grade, but it impacts them when they are in high school as well. So we really lay that pathway out for families. And so something just to celebrate, in 2022, we had 14% of those students were girls that were participating in subject area acceleration. And then in 2025, we have 38% of our students participating are girls. We want it to be even higher, but it's just a celebration for us that we've been really mindful to be able to really encourage our girls, especially girls that are interested in STEM and all of those things. Another celebration, our middle school accelerated math process, our placement into that Math 7-8 class that I had mentioned before. It used to be, so if you look at our gray box here, some of the elements of the process to be placed in that class, there was a parent or guardian application previously, there was additional testing that students were required to do on Saturdays, and just a celebration of some things that we've really been trying to break down barriers for kids and for families. Now our process at all three middle schools is consistent. It's the same across the whole district, and in collaboration with instruction and with all of the principals as well, we now use data that we already have. We use MSTEP, we use NWA math data, and we provide a variety of opportunities for students to be placed in that class. So if a student is not at the 90th percentile on MSTEP or on math, then we do provide a second look process. And so that is where the additional testing would come in, as opposed to everyone doing additional testing. So then I go to all of our buildings with 6th grade, we test any student who might be interested, we get more data, and then we move kids into that Math 7-8 class based on that data, or potentially they might stay in Math 7 if that's the best fit. And then we also have another spring process that the principals do too. We're always just trying to catch kids because we know that kids develop and grow at such different times. And so we really want it to be a process where it's accessible to students. And we always say too, acceleration, it's sort of like a highway, there's always an on-ramp. So it's not just if you don't accelerate in this grade, it's not the end of the road. We always have on-ramps to acceleration for our students. Some professional learning highlights. I think this might be my favorite thing to talk about. All my pictures, they're not working. That's a bummer. We had some cool graphics there. But just thinking about some highlights of our professional learning, we have professional learning for our gifted cluster teachers every single year, and we have one in the fall, and then we also, that's required for all gifted cluster teachers, and then we also have optional opportunities throughout the year. And all of our professional learning is guided by gifted associations, MDE, the latest research. We really try to provide variety for our teachers, so we will focus on all different content areas. We've been focusing a lot on social emotional learning of gifted learners as well, just making small shifts for teachers as opposed to putting more on their plate, and then providing choice too. We have been providing sessions during the day for teachers, and then we also provide choice at night as well, because we know how difficult it is sometimes to get subs. We don't want to overwhelm the system. We also, teachers spend so much time doing sub plans, so we do offer another opportunity at night that teachers, they have that choice to be able to come during the day or to come at night. These are just some highlights from our professional learning. So our fall professional learning, we just did, as Kristen mentioned, the NAGC Teachers Summit as well. And then upcoming April 1st, we have a collaboration day for gifted cluster teachers. And this is all based on feedback from the group. They love getting together. They absolutely love working alongside each other across the whole district and just being able to collaborate on the unique needs of gifted learners. So these are just some highlights from our feedback surveys. But if you wanted to just say one quick thing about our professional learning, anything that comes to mind?
Oh, I do. Well, I just wanted to make sure that I would share with everybody. I love going to the gifted intelligent trainings just because I can go back to the classroom like Gabby had mentioned earlier and just try, implement that, whatever I learned right away. And the kids love it. They love different learning opportunities. And just having a variety of choices, just because our students are different every year, and their needs and and their wants are different. So
I was gonna say as well that I love the grab and goes because they're easy to use and you can use them in a variety of ways. I was also a gifted teacher in my first grade when I taught first grade as well with you. And there's a lot of things that I can do that I did then now because of the open-endedness. But just the collaboration piece is huge. You come away with great ideas. We're constantly emailing back and forth, and just sharing across our grade levels too, because there's so many kids that need differentiation, and it's just fun to share what we've learned and just showing that it's not hard. It's just different. It's not intimidating, and I think sometimes people think that. So it's fun, and the kids love it, and I also love to explain to them that I'm going to learn too, and I'm going to share, and they always know I will come back with something. So learning, it never stops, and I like to express that in my classroom too.
Thank you. We try to provide so many different resources that can be used right away because we know our teachers, they work so hard, they do so much, we want them to be able to have something that's easy, accessible, and that they can really try right away. Think about family connection. So we have a gifted family newsletter that we put out to our families of identified gifted learners. And one example I wanted to share, we had put out a registration form for families if the kids were interested in doing Battle of the Books through KDL. And so we actually had a bunch of families respond, and they're creating their own little team, and it's students from all different elementary schools, and they'll all be on one team. We have a family member as a coach. I'll be working alongside them too. So I try to put a lot of different community events in those as well. And then I meet with families weekly, if not daily, via phone, Google Meet, in person as well. So always being accessible to our families. And then these are just some examples of things that you might see in our newsletters as well. And those are just different resources we pull from all of our different magazines and publications where we put out to families that might be helpful to support their students at home. And then looking forward, so I was watching my Spartans beat the Wolverines on Sunday, and it was amazing. And Tom Izzo had mentioned something. I know, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But I do have a point. I know, it's terrible. But Tom Izzo, at the end of the game, he spoke a lot about how when he first came to Michigan State and when he wanted to jump into the program, make it better, he wanted to improve. He said something that really struck me, and it was, when you want to be better, you have to be different. And I thought that that was so true in everything in life, I guess, but in education specifically. And so that really is the motto. Looking forward, what can we do to be better? We're always trying different things, but how can we be different? So we have new resources coming up for gifted cluster teachers, very exciting. They had mentioned a few before, and you actually saw some, they were using some of them in the pictures as well. But these are just some examples of things that we are providing for teachers. And so puzzle and game kits, a couple different resources, math and ELA, so it's really all across the content areas. The Eagle Cam was a really fun one. That actually, we just pushed that out to gifted cluster teachers. There is an Eagle Cam in California that's watching a nest of 2 bald eagles. And Kim and I were we were just texting. Literally every building we've been in this week, the Eagle Cam has been up on the screen. Yes, what I'm talking about. So not only physical resources that we're purchasing and getting in teachers' hands, but also anything that we see that we know that kids would be excited about learning, we're sharing with our teachers as well.
I have a lot of diaries right now about what's happening with the eagles. The eaglet, sorry, they're writing from the eaglet's perspective.
Because it's really rare that all of them survive.
It's so cool.
Yes.
Really cool.
So yeah, that was a fun one to
I
share.
know too much about these eagles.
We're really leaning into competitions. We know that that's something that a lot of our gifted learners do really well with. And so Continental Math League, a poetry contest that's within the greater Grand Rapids area. Grand Valley has a statistics poster contest. And these are things that some of our teachers already have been doing, but really things that we'll be working on as a team to make sure that all of our teachers are really leaning into those competitions. Birdseed is another online resource that we just purchased as well for next year. And we will be sharing all of this with families as well. And that leads me to our next couple of bullets here. So looking forward to next year, we're hoping to do a book study with families specifically. And I already had teachers that were like, yeah, me too, I'll be there. And then we're also looking to get guest speakers as well around the needs of gifted learners for teachers and families. And then we also are looking at doing a teacher summit in-house. So we just did the NAGC Teacher Summit where we had gone 2 presenters from the National Association of Gifted Children, but we have an idea for next year to have our teachers run sessions, and teachers could choose from the different sessions all around the needs of gifted learners. So those are just some things that we're really looking forward to for next year to continue to improve, and again, to just be different. Because we know it's a big job because our kids have big goals and they have really big dreams. And so this is just wanted to leave you with a poem that was written by one of our learners, just about the dreams that she has and the things that she really is just looking forward to. Our kids deserve everything, and our teachers every day give so much of themselves to our students because these kids are worth it, just like all of our kids are worth it. And we're just really excited to continue to always improve and be the best teachers that we can be for all of our learners. Any questions?
Will you tell me about your weekly meetings with your gifted families via phone, Google Meet, and in person? Is that just something that they can choose to have, or okay? So
Yeah.
what's your participation in that?
A lot.
I mean, do you get a lot of participation from the families?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. I have truly at least 3 a week.
Okay.
I would say if not more with families, and that is just for a variety of reasons. It could be discussing their data, it could be discussing what's going on at home, it could be discussing things in the classroom. There's so many different reasons. Every single phone call or meeting is completely different, but that would be mostly if a family reaches out to me. I do reach out to families, but it really is driven by family need.
How many kids do you think we're missing enrolling in gifted and talented for, I mean, it could be a variety of reasons, right? I mean, like, we can all look at our kids' end of BA scores and say, like, yeah, I see that they're at this percentile, but I don't really want them to do this. I mean, do you get that kind of pushback, or do you feel like most people, if their kids are identified in that percentile, they are excited about that opportunity?
I would say most families are excited.
Okay.
I just had a phone call with a parent yesterday, and just discussing data. And they were really excited to be able to have the data, and not that we want labels for kids, but it just was something that it gave them a peace of mind, like, home has been hard. You know, what has been going on at home, it's helpful to hear how their brain works, how it processes information. So families are really excited to be able to have that information and to be able to have those conversations, because sometimes they're like, I don't know what this is, what is going on? Because we often say, sometimes being gifted is not a gift. It does come with a lot. Students really, they're growing asynchronously. Their brains are at a high school level, but their body is a third grade level, or, a third grader. So sometimes there are a lot of challenges that come along with that. And so I'm always so happy to connect with families, because sometimes they're not sure, and there's a lot of mystery sometimes around gifted learners or gifted education, and it's so different state to state and so different across the country. So it's nice to be able to connect. And I would say it's definitely something that families, they're excited about and are always wanting to connect. Yeah.
Gabby and I talk often about kids that we're missing.
Yeah.
And so at the middle school level, the way when we shifted it, now we go out and invite you into Mass 7-8, and if you don't want to, you opt out.
Mhm.
And so right now, at the elementary level and kindergarten, we send family communication and kids sign up, but it's left up to the adults to ultimately do that. So we've talked about, it's more of like sustainability in that it's an abilities-based test, so it's a little bit different, but there are district states that will test everyone or opt out, and so then you don't miss anyone. Because they often, gifted kids look different, and sometimes even a parent, has what we think might be the stereotypical gifted, and so child and they miss their own children too. They just don't know. They're surprised at like, whoa, I just had no idea. So
Yeah.
we've been talking about that for the last year.
Especially if their math scores maybe aren't at the 99th percentile, because we do have a lot of kids where maybe they are showing lower achievement on those standardized assessments, and then you give the NET or the COGAT or the TOMAX, and you're like, what? I mean, it's amazing. It's always really cool when that
That
happens.
test was just like a snapshot in
Yeah.
time, one couple hours a day.
Yeah, we have been talking a lot about that, of how we can maybe look at some other assessments and how we might do a whole grade level or try to catch more kids. But the logistics, that's what we've been working out for that.
Gabby, can I say too, we've talked, a lot of families I think appreciate the in-classroom model and not necessarily the pullout,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. Like, I've had a lot of conversations at conferences and things with families that they appreciate the fact that it is more of a it is differentiation, but they're not being pulled out, they're not missing things. And I think, I've had a couple families that are like, oh, okay, maybe this is what my child needs. So I don't know, just I think being aware of that, I don't know, so I just wanted to add that.
Don't you find teachers like that better though too, instead of the pulling out?
Yes.
Cause I remember back when I was working at, I was at Collins and watching that, and they're like, or if somebody couldn't pull them out right away, and then they had to adjust the schedule and move things around, then it kind of upset the apple cart for everything else that they were doing that day. Do you guys have data that goes on, like, what happens after high school? Like,
with
pushes
those
beyond
kids?
with these kids, like, you come back and, like, start to see, like, the track records of, like, where this is, has if the kid is interested in, calculus, like, it's interesting to see what, like, what he ends up being later,
I can tell you
Yeah,
what he's
there you
doing
go.
right
Okay.
now, because I keep in touch with a lot of them.
Okay.
He is going to school to be a doctor, actually, and he is in accelerated math, and he's calculus, I don't even know what he's taking right now, I believe 2. So, yes, a lot of these kids that, push themselves and get exposed to a lot of these different options, they do, later on continue to thrive. I have a student who is a published author, and he comes back and works with my students on writing. And he just started in my classroom when he was a little second grader. He started writing graphic novels, and his brother was diagnosed with diabetes, and he's got an idea. He wanted to sell these little graphic novels and make money and donate to the foundation, and he continues to do that. I was just recently at his book signing.
But in a formalized way, we have been thinking about that as well. We would like to have, looking at data from our elementaries to middle to high school and then beyond as well. I was just meeting, I often meet with districts around the area they want to know more about our gifted model because there are so few districts that have anything for gifted education. And I was just talking to another director of instructional services about that. And so it's definitely something that we've been thinking about and that we would like to look more into, just so we can know the impact as well of our efforts at elementary.
But it's really cool, like even having the opera come back in the class
Yeah.
and say, this is where I started off, and this is my journey, come back, because it inspires the kids to
Right.
do whatever area that they're kind of gravitating
Yes,
for.
absolutely.
So that's awesome.
I have two, sorry. Said 170 students.
About you.
Where does that rank us, our district versus other districts? We know that?
Like the
That's
ratio.
Like
a
ratio.
really good question.
Like, do we,
I don't know.
oh, we want to be, our kids need to go to Forest Hills because of their elementary gifted program that tracks them through.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering where that puts us at that. And then also, I guess it's to the teachers, the educators, like we're all educators. I'm not you guys. You said you take the additional classes that allow you to, the learning, and it was about the learning, and then you did mention there's some on the emotional, social development of those students. Do you think what you're getting from that is helping you, or is that lacking the education or the information you're getting? It just felt like what you were talking about, you said that these students may feel different, or we're figuring out the whole student, making sure they're all fine. There's the social and emotional development they're having. Are you getting the information you need to help them along? Is proportional, I guess, to what you're learning from the Opolis stuff you guys talked about. Like, that to me is
Like the
more
academics,
tactical.
like,
That's tactical, like we're gonna give them a book, we're gonna teach them differently. But are you getting the same support from the additional learning to support them emotionally and socially? Sorry, it took me a while to get to the question.
Yes. You wanna speak to that? Well, so we, yes.
Yeah.
We are also, there's a new training that we're going to attend actually on Friday, called Trails, and
Okay.
it's addressing those social and emotional needs.
Okay.
But yes, we do have a lot of other resources, that we, would support that. A lot of just conversations with students and how are you feeling, and not necessarily that you need more, I guess, resources. You do, with certain kids, yes, but we're grateful that we have this other opportunity to learn about other social and emotional supports that we can have.
And I think too, I know you had mentioned this, like, how can I help you? Like, what do you need from me?
Yes.
And I think asking that question, because they a lot of times are very quiet. I know a couple in my classroom are, and if I didn't approach them, they would just stay reserved a little bit. But we're almost, 3/4 of the way through the year, so I know them very well. So it's just getting to know them, and also the collaboration piece. Some of them don't like to, and that's okay, but also teaching them how to do that
Right.
to show it is okay. Like, so learning those skills, and we've been dabbling a little bit with Trails already. I'm looking forward to the training Friday a little bit more. But I think just, we keep trying with them and having, it's the conversation piece. Like, I think over the years I've been asking more like, what do you need and how can I help you? Because I think a lot of times we just throw stuff at them, right? Whereas if we invite them to learn, like these choice boards, they're having a ball. They're learning so much because it's what they want to do within, reason, I guess.
Yeah, good, that makes sense. You made a great,
Yeah.
they're third grader with a mind like a high
Yeah.
school
Right,
Yeah.
student, so it's like that, to
For
me,
sure.
would be, oh my gosh, am I thinking the right way, how do I act, how am I
Yeah.
supposed to be with my peers,
Yeah.
what's the,
And I think having that open communication with families too is huge. Like, having that open dialogue.
Yeah, another huge benefit of our model as well is that because it's a cluster, it's a group of kids, that does sometimes serve as a great peer group as well, because they are with students that maybe have similar interests, or they're at maybe the same intellectual level, and so they really can create very strong friendships from that cluster group within our model too.
Can I also add something else? Just because you made a good point. The labels are tricky, right? And when kids know like they're qualified for a gifted model, the reason I invite students to, all my students to participate in these different opportunities is because I want them to see, just because they have this label, it doesn't mean that other students within, their peers cannot participate in that. And just puts them all at equal levels. And I have students in some of those pictures that, you know, they were working side by side. One is, you know, yes, qualified as gifted, but then you have a student who we call it twice exceptional, who is in resource room, and he also qualified as gifted, and they're working side by side. So putting them and seeing, hey, yes, their parent, I don't tell them, hey, you're gifted and talented,
Right.
but their parents might, right? And just so that kids see, hey, I could do what this kiddo can do as well. So
I think it makes them feel successful
Right.
and they can help as well. Or if they're noticing someone needs help and like, you know, we're working in a small group or something, some of my kids have started taking initiative and, I can help you with that.
Mhm.
So just kind of ownership and yeah, it's cool. It's very cool to see.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you so much. We really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Gabby, Gina, and Kristen, thank you so much.
thanks for
Thank you.
Time
Thanks for
and
having
sharing your talents and
Thank you.
bonus points for weaving in a Tom Izzo reference. Anytime we can do that in presentation.
Always, every time.
That was good.
It was okay. It was okay.
I'm still a Minnesota fan, so I don't understand the color stuff. So.
Okay, up next, Kim has a couple items for, that we're gonna be requesting, those are textbooks and supplemental materials.
I don't need a picture, because I'll just.
Okay, you'll just talk.
So it's curricular resource time, review time, that's in there, so there's quite a few. Yeah, so the first one is that core pre-AP English 1 and English 2. We've done a lot of work in talking about it, so I feel we're all fairly familiar with it. I did want to celebrate, we recently had the group together again, and even pre-AP English 1 has also redone their outline for next year with the teachers involved. And since we've met last time, all teachers, even teachers that aren't piloting, have started to come. So any teacher that's teaching pre-AP English 1 and pre-AP English 2 next year is already planning. And since we met last time, they already have articulated and outlined their entire year for pre-AP English 2. So lots of, you know, things to celebrate with this group. Scott, would you after this be able to share this? Because the only way to access the curriculum materials is through a PDF right now. I was gonna print them, but one of them was 400 and something pages, so I thought you might appreciate just looking at it digitally. So all of the units, all 4 for each area are linked here for you. Okay. I did the teacher resources, so you can see all the student resources, but you can also see the teacher side as well, so that all of it's combined in the teacher resources. Okay, so the next one is just a supplemental resource. It's Quill, and the primary goal of Quill is just grammar. Quill's inserted into the pre-AP English 1 and pre-AP English 2 curriculum through College Board. So it's nicely aligned with what they're doing. We also, you're aware that some of the schools do no ready. And so next year, what we're doing as a group, because we're in this transitional year, is we'll have a Quill, and we'll also have no ready. And at the end of the year, we'll be piloting. Teachers feel that more teachers' voices need to be heard. And at the end of the year, the next year, we'll be down to 1. So it'll be either no ready or Quill. No ready, we've already been using. Quill is new. Okay. And then the next one, just like Quill, on the vocabulary side, it's called vocabulary.com. This one's also built in to the pre-AP English 1 and pre-AP English 2 curriculum from College Board, and basically it's just vocab. I will say the cool thing with doing the site licenses, which we do, is there's a lot of reports that teachers can pull, but also administrators. And so offering, having the kind of not free version, but the bought-in version, there's a lot of opportunities for teachers there. Our teachers have been using it this year, and they really enjoy it. So teachers using it, meaning our pilot teachers, and she just sent me a usage report, and within the last month or 2, it's just skyrocketed. So I can tell as teachers get used to that, our pilot teachers with this curriculum, I can tell they're utilizing some of those supplemental resources even more. So the request from the team is from vocabulary.com, and then just like No Red Ink, we've talked about Mindy before. I think we've had some questions with the group. So we'll have vocabulary.com and Mindy. We've already been using Mindy as just vocab. So 2 that teachers will use throughout the year, and then at the end of next year, they'll choose 1. This also allows teachers that maybe haven't been involved in the process, that might teach English 11 or 12, they also have time to adjust, as well at the end of the year to one.
Are these all only online resources, so kids are doing them on a screen only?
Yes, I do think vocabulary.com and Quill both have opportunities to print. They also have accessibility measures for like text-to-speech and some different, accessibility things built online, but the majority of the kids will access all of it online.
And how much a week do you think they're on a screen doing this?
Not a lot, maybe 5-10, I would say 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes would be a day, maybe. What I don't know exactly is how they might use it, like as a home
As a
resource.
yeah.
Or there are some kids that they're saying like they'll go in on their own to be able to have vocab or grammar practice.
Okay.
But I would say traditionally in the classroom it's not a lot.
Okay.
All of these resources also align with a lot of the novels that we're using, so it's just great reinforcement that they can use for that as well. The big one that teachers are really loving, it's spreading like wildfire. It started last year when we sent a teacher to the AP conference, well, a team of teachers, and they saw a lot of AP teachers in the area. We're using Albert, Lisa Penninga at a Central High, and then Trevor Riley at a Central High. He's social studies and Lisa's ELA. So they came back and they said, hey, we really want to pilot Albert. It has a lot of AP resources. And then since then, we've just learned so much about Albert. So Albert is like a comprehensive online platform that your whole school, it's a per pupil. And when you're inside Albert, there's tons of different courses and opportunities to practice skills. So these are just some examples of some ELA things inside of Albert. What the teachers like about it is you can see ACT prep, there's SAT things there. If you have kids that might be struggling, there's reading skills that they can click on. The teachers can, if you're an AP teacher, you can go to AP Lit. There's courses for that and practice exams. And then Scott, if you go to the next. And then on top of English, once like Trevor's kids, since it's a per pupil, when they're inside Albert, then it can open up other subject areas. So there's every subject area is in there, even world language is in there. So you can see here, AP Pre-Calc is in there, you can see statistics, so there's a lot of the AP courses, and that's not even all of them. And then one more, Scott, you can see these are just a few of the math courses that are in there.
Did you say they can access that home too?
Yes, they'll be able to access it at home as well. Now, with everybody, with this, so we've been piloting as an ELA, and teachers love it in the ELA setting, but what they see for high school is because kids can access so many different things inside of it, the teachers thought, oh my goodness, I mean, this could be like one thing for kids, instead of us, all the things that we're using to help kids practice. If they're able to get in here and have everything they might need, there's even grammar in here. Different components that this could be really good for a school. And then one more slide, Scott. So we have one of the teachers speaking to the ELA team, Lisa Penninga. This just shows you kind of some of the reporting that teachers get and why they like it. So it tells how much time their kid is spending on a particular activity or assessment. It gives you grades, it gives you an answer breakdown, and then also if you were, and you can't, but if you were to click on the flag, it'll give teachers like, hey, these are some questions that child needs, and you can push those questions out to kids. The other items that teachers really love is when they're assigning different parts, no matter what course, even assessment, even if it's AP practice, they can assign, they have it like easy, medium, and hard. So you can ramp your kids up. You could do all difficult questions. The teachers also enjoy that when the kids answer a question, it has immediate feedback. So it'll tell them and it'll break down and have a student example. And they said on some platforms it seems kind of AI more generic. They said this is so specific. So Albert only, everyone they hire, their designers, they don't grab from anything on the outside. So if a kid tries to like Google something or they're practicing something on College Board, they can't find it. So it's only the items inside of Albert. It also will tell teachers, okay, around the nation, imagine like you're getting ready to get the SAT, these questions are the most missed questions from kids. And so if you're looking for a place to start, you might wanna start here. So the data inside, we just keep learning more and more. So it's spreading when I say like wildfire. Now Albert's pretty popular, so we're doing, Central High, the entire high school is gonna do a 30-minute training and pilot Albert till the end of the year, because everybody is hoping to do it. Northern High and Eastern as well. So it just keeps every year, every day, it's like we're letting more and more people on, and all the administrators are like, this is great, because the administrator can go to a platform and see all content areas if they want to. They could have, data discussions with groups, and then at the admin level, you can see across your whole district. So it doesn't mean that, who knows where we'll land with 9 through 12, but we did put, that it would be open for 11 and 12, because right now, while we're asking this for ELA, we see that a lot of content areas are gonna wanna probably jump on board, and they will be able to, because it's a per pupil, and it opens to all content areas. So regardless, we would be able to get that. So it's, for the high school level, to have the high schools all want to pilot and have that 30-minute training is really exciting.
Can you tell me, like, how does this look in the classroom? Like, when in the hours? Is this like a bell ringer? Is this like an enclosure, like 10 minutes? Is this homework?
I think right now it's very dependent on teacher. I see a lot of, like, the ELA teachers that are using it a lot of them are using it at school. They might use it as a bell ringer, exit ticket, middle of the day, or as they're starting to think about SAT and AP coming up, they're starting to use some of those assessments too.
Mm-hmm.
So you can give a full AP assessment and like kind of
Like a practice?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
or you can break it down and give it into components.
Mm-hmm.
There are some teachers that I've seen that will project it and make it more of like, I'm gonna drive what we're gonna do, and so the questions are up there, and then maybe the class is collaborating and doing it as a whole, and then they're answering it with just one person logged in, if that makes sense. I can see as it grows, some consistency to it, and bringing that, like, what's our minimum expectations, and what do we not wanna see, gold standards, and, we don't want it to be used in this way as we grow it. Trevor and Lisa are the only teachers in the district that have done it all year. They're both begging to continue. They're seeing lots of success. And then the ELA teachers for the curricular review team jumped on board about maybe October, and then we had Albert back again in like January, and they've all been dabbling since then.
From a cost perspective, it's obviously free.
Mhm.
What does this, was it licensing agreement, what does that look like? It sounds amazing, so I assume it's probably not, it's probably more than Quill.
It's more than Quill.
Right, I would assume, but
Yes.
if I hear you right, that would this then one day possibly encompass everything?
It has.
I'm
There's-
going future, but I just,
There's just, all courses are in there.
right,
And within a course, there's, like, for ELA, there's a grammar component, there's reading skills, so that's what teachers are saying, like, I think that.
this could support, or take
Correct.
over, so to speak.
Yeah,
more
so like
other-
the ELA team thought, wouldn't it be so nice for our kids in this platform, well, the math teacher could use it as well, and the science teacher could use it, and this teacher could use it. And the AP teachers are telling us right now, Lisa, and we have a couple others, like Jennifer Kiger, they're saying that when their kids take some of those practice exams, they're better than the ones on College Board. So they're watching the kids take them and have great feedback for that. We did put some different pricing in. So for example, I think for 2 years, if we're just thinking, I think this one's just 9 and 10. So if we just did 9 and 10, then it's for 2 years, 44,000 for all the high school, every single
Okay,
student.
it's 44.
1 year is 26,000. So it's not too bad, but it's, it's better than, it's more expensive.
And you can have as many users as users.
That's us
So
giving.
you take
what
the average number of,
projected.
yeah, well, okay,
Yes.
we think the headcount will be, it's affordable.
Yes. And, for like, if we did the whole district, the whole district would be, like 76. The more you do, the more of a discount.
I was gonna say,
So you could.
the 26 for
on that
one,
quote,
4 over 2,
yes.
that's like giving you a bit of a break. But
Yes, yeah. So you'll see they'll cross out an